DRG is in fact a game I also play. I know, something that isn't Pizza Tower, very shocking for me, at least. So I was just going to run you through a couple DRG tips because I was bored and wanted to make a video. Without further ado, let's get into some DRG tips and basics for beginners and maybe advanced. I don't know, probably not. The first is going to be some basic general tips. And the very first, most important tip I have is no matter what mission and no matter what's going on, always get 80 nitra. Getting a resupply is super important and it's top priority. Next up is going to be some basic roles of every dwarf. The driller should clear crowds and drill out the way through compact dirt and make connecting tunnels. Scout should get the primary and secondary missions done along with collecting nitra. And Gunner and NG are in weird spots. Engineer can help out the Scout, but otherwise both of them are just DPS machines. With that being said, we're on to mission specific. I'm trying to give one tip for every mission type. For mining Morkite, one of the more basic and understanding ones you need to know is the distribution of Morkite. The last cave in mining Morkite will have almost twice as much Morkite as anywhere else, so it is very important that you can get to that last cave and harvest all the Morkite from it instead of looking for all the tiny scraps elsewhere. As for more class specific, there is not much for Driller. The biggest note is these caves can get long, so try tunneling back to the drop pod from the start. Engineer, you can try to build platforms at high up Morkite for your Scout to get to. There's a lot for Scout to do. Scout, you're basically the single man army, like the solo guy to get all the Morkite and most of the other ore. Scout is very important, make sure you have one in mining Morkite. Gunner is kind of replaceable as he has no major use in mining Morkite. The biggest note is remember that the Hurricane rocket system can mine Morkite if it's high up and you're running solo. But if you're running solo, it's probably better to use Bosco. For egg hunt, the general tip is you can tell how many swarmer eggs there are. This is a very well-known thing, being if there's 4 eggs in the egg hunt, one of those eggs will cause a swarm. If there's 6, 2 of them will cause a swarm, and if there's 8, 3 of those eggs are swarms. And even if they aren't swarms, let's say there's 4 eggs, you pull the swarm, that means the other 3 will not start swarms, but they'll still spawn small amounts of enemies. Those on Hazard 5 can still be deadly, and they can still spawn oppressors and Praetorians. It is better to always notify everyone when you pull an egg. Onto some more class-specific. Driller, again, has less than some other classes. With his drills, you can quickly find and take out the eggs, and if you want to play a very safe strategy, you can tunnel into the wall and make like a mole system to get the egg safely, because this is not ammo efficient. Scout is again the king of this. He can get across the cave system very fast. He can get basically every egg, and he can basically solo this mission. Get a Scout and then anyone else, and you're good. Engineer has no real notes. Set up your turrets is about the only thing I can say, and set up your platforms for the Scout to go do his job. Though, because Engineer normally doesn't do much, on these missions and other ones where Engineer can't do much, it's better for you to try to get the secondary so the Scout can go off to get the primary. Gunner also has very little, protect the Scout, the Driller, all that. Though he does have one funny use, his arms core coil gun. It can be used to shoot out the egg if you hit it dead on with the shot. And this can pop out an egg almost instantly. It's not very practical, and I don't think the egg can roll through the tunnel itself, but it will pop the egg and cause a swarm if you hit it perfectly. This is not very practical, and you should not do this. Just remember, though, I'm pretty sure with max shield length, you can cover one whole egg if you really want to guarantee it. For mini-mules, a tip most people don't really know is the fact that when you find a mini-mule, a small swarm will spawn. So if you see a mini-mule from a distance, don't go running up next to it, because that could overrun you and your team. This is also important to notice because if there's a swarm going on, you don't want to cause even more enemies to spawn. For more class specific, for Driller, you can drill down for an underbunky to do both of the percent sequences pretty easy and for free. That's about all Driller can do though. To pair that, Engineer, if you do that, can put a platform above the entrance and block off most enemies. Note when I say entrance, I mean where you tunnel down for the charging port, not the entrance of the bunker. That will just cause them to tunnel to you. Otherwise, Engineer is probably the best one to repair the mini-mules other than Scout. The King Scout back again, basically really want him. He can get around, he can build them all basically solo and is very useful. If you're a Scout this mission though, I'll say take the backseat for the primary and go for the secondary, other classes can do it. Gunner, you're kind of worthless, again, though your shield's very useful for the percent increases, again, because when you throw it on your shield, your whole team can hide in it, and they'll survive just fine, nice and there. For Dreadnought, a very general and good tip is to always try to fight it in the spawn room. The spawn room should be more bigger and more open than where the eggs are located at. This is a very good tactic also with luring. On topic of luring, Gunner is a very important role. Gunner should be positioned away from his team on the opposite side of the cave, so when the Dreadnought locks his teammates, he has a clear opening to shoot it. Gunner can also remember to abuse shields for revives. Don't feel afraid to blow all your ammo and shields. You take top priority on resupply. If you have the Arms Core coil gun, you can also hit eggs through walls. So if you find an egg but don't have sufficient ammo/nitro to fight it, ping it and come back later with more ammo, or shoot it through a wall once you get ammo using it. Scout, your main goals are to get the secondary done and to get nitro for supplies. Along with this, you should be the main lure of the Dreadnought, for it's not that dangerous if it comes charging you because you can zip away. As Engineer, you can cover most of spawn platforms to make it all flat surfaces and allow for getaways and high perch spots to shoot the Dreadnought. Give some extra really high ones for the Scout to run to in case he's in any trouble. Otherwise, just remember to set up some of your turrets to try to get extra chip in, though it's not that important. As Driller, there's not much you can really do. At most, try to remember not to break the freezer gun, cryo cannon. The most important thing is Driller's landscaping. Don't forget to tear down all the things in the way of the Dreadnought to give a nice, clean, wide open fighting area so you can always see the Dreadnought. Maybe keep some debris along the edges of the arena to really hide in, but try to keep the center big and open to allow for plenty of room to fight the Dreadnought. For rival presence, generally speaking, as a general tip, to follow the lines a little bit easier, try to not necessarily actually follow the yellow lines, just look for caves and follow them through. That should get you to the destination. Another pretty good tip is to dig under stuff. A lot of things don't extend too far down. The shields really don't go too far down if you just dig down. For some more class specific, Engineer, it could be a smart idea to build a perch above the Caretaker for your Scout to go rest in. This would be a good hiding spot for the Scout. Another pretty good idea for Engineer is just remembering to set up your turrets. It's a simple thing that can add a lot of damage over time. For Driller, you got quite a bit of stuff. You can take out turrets by digging under them and mining out the underside. There should be a display showing you how to do this. You can also do what I like to call an insta-kill on the armor. It's not actually instant. If you see the background footage, I should have showed it over here. It's where you get above the Caretaker, throw down some C4, and ignite it. And it will do a lot of damage to all the armor if you do it right. As for Scout, focus on getting the secondary and nitra, some gold if you want to. You can also be the one to find and start the hacking sequence. Also because, as I mentioned before, you can get above the Caretaker fairly easy, and it's pretty safe up there if you really need a panic spot. Just note, if you die up there, your teammates aren't coming to get you. Not very soon, at least. And as for Gunner, really just remember to bring like hot lead or something with fire. There's not much you can do this mission, but that's just machines. Your shields are a little bit useless because they have the bigger shields. A pretty good tip to know for liquid morkite is holding E will automatically make you start rail grinding, making it not have to time it as much, making it much easier. You can also do this with gunner ziplines. Another pretty good tip is the fact that the morkites should all spawn in the main room, but if you can only find two, that means it's on a side cave. So start looking for side caves instead of walking back the same trail the 17th time. As for more specific tips, scout, you should probably go for secondary. This is the first thing, don't even think about the primary other than building. Otherwise, scout, try to remember not to go to the top of the big hole. I know you want to go up to the top of the map, but you're really not doing any useful stuff up there. For engineer, remember your platforms can be used to help with morkite tunnels. Though, if you have a good driller, you should just leave it to them. Remember to set up your turrets at spawn so that way they can just casually do damage, and they'll end up doing a lot more across the mission if you just leave them there. Gunner, I don't really know. Shoot stuff. There's not much you can do. At most, try not to shoot teammates. Yada yada yada. And driller. Driller, it's your job to do primary. Find the pump jacks and tunnel to them, and then bring the pipe through them. You don't necessarily have to build. That should be the other three teammates' jobs. A good tip is to not drill above a 45-degree angle or below a negative 45-degree angle, lest the pipes will very rarely actually fit. For Aquark missions, it's all about speed. Speed, speed, speed. For every minute or so, the enemy spawn rate will increase by 1 per swarm. The amount of quarks you put into the thing does not actually increase the amount of enemy spawns. It's the time. So you just have to go fast. Get that 80 nitra, get the aquarks, and go. Starting off with driller, just remember, just use your drills. Drill them out and throw them. It is not your job to deposit the aquarks, unless you just happen to be standing still there. Throw them off there. Engineer, you want to be standing at the base. Set up your turrets and just wait. Deposit all aquarks and other junk you get. It's your job to deposit them, normally. Gunner, it's also you. Stick with the NG, deposit all the aquarks. Scout, it is your job to fly off and get all the aquarks you can, but never deposit. If you need to, throw the aquark away, like out towards it. Even if it's not close, assign the driller to go get it then. So scout, throw it, and if it's still too far away, driller, go get it and throw it closer. For escort duty, a pretty good general tip is that whenever you heal Doretta up to 100% HP, she is invulnerable to all damage for a little bit. You can use this to tank bulk detonators if you really have to. Along with that, don't feel afraid to lose a percent chunk of Doretta. Everyone does it sometimes, and many people act like losing even one phase is instant failure. You have like that 300%, so you can use most of that 300% if you really need to. On to more player specific, scout, try to get the secondary and nitra. Otherwise, don't feel that stressed to follow Doretta. Whenever a cave opens up, follow that cave and just go, explore. Let the rest of the team help. If they really need help, show up. Gunner, try to stick with Doretta. Try to be constantly shooting out, and also try to get both range upgrades on the shield to fully cover Doretta with your shield. Engineer, you're kinda worthless, I'm gonna be honest. Try to just help heal Doretta, set up your turrets when you need to refuel, yada yada yada. Driller, you also kinda useless. Though, while Doretta's moving, try to stay away from Doretta and shoot out with your flamethrower, ice thrower, or acid pump to deal with the crowds before they get Doretta, so don't stand on her. You can also tunnel forward and clear out the caves preemptively. For the defending Doretta part, Scout should try to get most of the laser turrets. Engineer can block falling rocks with his platforms, but so can Driller. If you drill straight up as they're falling, you'll break them in midair. Generally speaking, if you need to break the turrets quickly and scary, the best class is actually probably going to be Gunner. Gunner at a fully charged minigun shooting right at the tip will probably break it faster than most others. Otherwise, let the Driller and Scout go ham. And so, there we are. At least a couple tips for every class for all the mission types. I will note that although I mentioned throughout the whole thing how little Gunner does, how little NG does, and how little Driller does, they're still useful classes. I was basing this off getting the main objective done and maybe secondaries. My goal is for the future to go into a deep dive slash a small character analysis of every character, giving you more general tips of each character, strategies, what their primaries do and secondaries, all the caboodle and caboose, and whatever the saying goes. You can decide. For doing primaries, Scout's just the king. You just want to use Scout. So overall, don't take this as hard fact or you must do this. How dare it? You're not doing this. These are just helpful tips. If you don't like them, don't do them. It's that easy. That being said, have a damn good day.